Hello. So yes, it is International Women's Day and it's our Tuesday live. So we're live here today, coming live to come and share. I can see that we already have people who were waiting at this session. Whoa, this is so nice and it's so good to have you here. Welcome to Tuesday 2 p.m. session. And today we are looking at how negative disciplinary measures like flogging and yelling can hinder a child from learning. All right, please invite your family and your friends while we try to log in to our Facebook community and make sure that everybody's here. Please tell me where you are streaming live from. That will help us to also connect with you. And maybe you might meet someone that is in your city. All right, tell me where you're streaming live from. I'm streaming live from the capital city, Abuja. All right, welcome here and thank you for joining me. Thank you so much. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m., we're here with you, sharing on one issue in parenting or the other. And like I often say, there are a lot of conversations that we would have that is best, understood when you are actually right in the academy. I'm sure that when I say that, there's a lot of, understanding of, that. All right, so let me also make sure that we are live also on our yes. So we're live on our platforms. And thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so we've been talking about learning in this month. We've been talking about in the academy specifically, we're looking at how to understand the child better. For instance, we're reading the book How You Act the Way You Do in level 1, and we're giving thoughts to it. By the way, if you read that same book right in the inner circle, you'll be grateful that you did. Trust me. It's a different kind of, me from. All right. If you are joining me from, please just tell me, just say hello. If you're joining me for the first time, if you are joining me for the first time, write in the comment, tell me hashtag, put a hashtag and say first time streaming live with you. First time streaming live with you. All right, let's see that hashtag. Interesting. So we're good. Okay, Yadis, we're good. And yes, let's start today by saying Happy International Women's Day. I am what you would call a female chauvinist, and it's fine. All right. So, so yes, I love being a woman, and I'm sure that every woman out there love to be woman. Okay, and it's a day to celebrate women. What an amazing day! I usually like the month of March. There's a lot of celebrations to do, and of course, I've been screaming that my birthday is in 2 days. Yes. All right, my dad's birthday was yesterday. Today is Women's Day. And then in the next, my pastor's birthday is a day after mine. So what a blessing, what a blessed month, what a time to actually be born. Yes. All right. So congratulations to every woman out there who is watching me. And because I know that women actually do much more for the families, I celebrate you. I throw hands for you, because really it's a lot. It's a lot to be a woman. Until you're a woman, you don't really understand that it's a lot to be a woman. All right. So since we're still learning and we're still parenting, today is Tuesday and 2 p.m. So my name is Wendy Ologe, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy. The Intentional Parent Academy is an academy that helps parents to learn how to become parents. I was on radio yesterday, all the way from here to Uyo State. All right. Sorry, Akwa Ibom State. That's, the radio station is in Uyo. And I was sharing something, with them, and a caller was asking, how come, when you say parenting should be learned, people should actually learn to become parent? One of my responses was that assumption is the lowest form of knowledge. I know that there's a lot of assumptions that was done in the past that is still going on, which we're trying to correct. All right. So yes, this is who we are. This is what we do. The whole idea of what we're doing today is actually to be able to, put together a learning system. And we do that through mentoring. We do that through one-on-one sessions. We do that through counseling. We do that through the academy processes. We have different courses. And we have one of our most popular programs that we call the Inner Circle program. The Inner Circle program is popularly known as the people in the Inner Circle program is popularly known as the Yadas. All right, it's one of our most successful programs, and it's an annual program that has brought parents a lot of success story. And that's not, without the names that come to me from that, space. I've been named Mama Cathedral, which is the latest. I've been named VC, was the first. So the parents in the academy call me VC until this new cohort came out and said it was Mama Cathedral. And I don't know how that name even started, but that's by the way. All right. Some would say Sergeant Major, some would say Mama Nuku, all sorts of names. You don't even want to think it. But anyway, and then we also run short courses in the academy. There's not just the annual, program that we run. The annual program runs every year. All right. We're already running it. So if you want to be part of it, what you need to do is to join the wait list. We already have over 200, I think, or more parents in the wait list, and you actually want to hurry up to be there. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. I am really very much excited. All right, so let's go. How negative disciplinary measures like flogging, yelling can hinder your child from learning. This is one topic that a lot of people fight. And many of the times, I remember that in our community, we shared something about do not punish the child, teach the child, discipline the child. And of course, everybody came up with, oh no, are you telling us to just leave the children, not to be disciplined? If the children must learn, why are they this and all of that? All of those, responses, valid responses, trust me, we don't fight anymore. We just... we let it sink. And I'm sure as we all go through the community, we all go through the learnings, follow the posts, we are going to learn. The aim is for every single one of us to learn. And which is why I like the Bible verse. Just in case that you forget, as you're learning, just know that the labor of the foolish wearieth them, because they do not know how to go to the city. If you do not know how, you will be weary, which is why a lot of the parents today are getting weary. We're getting wearier and wearier by the day. All right. So remember not to get weary by getting, knowledge. So when we use negative disciplinary measures, we're not just damaging the brain, we are changing the brain. So we're changing how the brain connects. And I was reading something recently when I was preparing for the course, Understanding Your Child's Learning Style. I was reading something about learning disabilities, and it's been linked to trauma. Some of them have been linked to trauma. Some children who actually were traumatized, lost fine motor and couldn't now, put a lot of those things, as children when they start learning. So the things that we do can actually hinder a child from learning. When you are yelling, you are either growing aggression or you are growing shame. Somebody help me write that in the comment section. When you are yelling, you are either growing aggression or you are growing shame. That's what you do when you're children. People have said and asked the question, does this mean that we can't raise our voice, or we cannot say some no yelling challenge? We actually have what we call the yell meter. And the yell meter describes what yelling, when it comes to yelling, what is bad. There's a level of your yelling that becomes bad. All right. You're trying to make yelling an alarm system, right? It's okay. It's okay, right? When a child is trying to run into the road, for instance, of course, it's only natural that you actually raise your voice to say, no, stop. Okay. What we're talking about is the consistent, of course, you and I know what I'm talking about. The consistent yelling of correction that we do. All right. When we're constantly screaming, I know of children who are perpetually under siege because they need to do assignment every day by their parents. Perpetually on the siege. Perpetually. Their parents are constantly killing them just because they are trying to learn. So assignment time, the child already, is scared of come and do. In fact, the child is scared of going to school because in school they shut the child down. The child is scared of coming home because at home you have one cane in your hand. Children don't learn in fear because the moment fear gets to the brain, the moment the brain senses fear, the brain shuts down. The learning center of the brain shuts down. A signal is passed to the brain that tells it, shut down. This is not a yelling time. This is not a learning time. So the moment the child, all right, senses, the brain senses that, oh, okay, there's somebody, killing me here. This person doesn't want me to learn. Times when we're constantly yelling. So the child flies, all right? Or the child, there's a fly. Let me tell you, one of the people, I shared a story when I was announcing this class of my classmate. He shared the story on the community on Facebook. He was my classmate in primary school. He shared that story and he tagged me. All right, when he was tagging me, he said, imagine being in a class with people like Wendy Ologe who were so smart. It didn't make me smile. I felt really bad. I actually was disturbed that people were made to feel less of themselves because of other people who could learn better. And that was actually something that worried me. After then, he lectures in one of the biggest universities in Scotland. He's a Ph.D. holder. But this young guy, the only thing for not learning, the only thing that saved this young man was because his parents gave their support and they were able to find him help. So imagine in those days, if the parent, the parent was able to find, we sat, we spoke, and he gave a split picture of how he felt in primary school when people like him were talked down and people like us were celebrated. So you would think that that's a good thing. Oh, you would say that, oh, my child is being celebrated in school. After all, my child is really doing well. All right. But beyond that, the children who are struggling, what is that thing making them? How is it making them? Flight, fight, and flight mode. They are scared to learn. They were even, he said to me, he said, at the time, I became even afraid to try because I didn't want to be beaten or want to be shamed. When you shame a child for learning, the child shuts down. And the one that beats me in the recent times is the way we are forcing 2-year-olds to read, write ABCD, read, memorize classes, and all of that. So when you yell at a child, that for someone like my daughter who is very, very auditory, when you yell, there's a complete confusion. There's a complete confusion, in the setting. So you need to understand that yelling doesn't help a child. It doesn't help a child try. It actually shuts down the child from trying. So a child and then for the children who even begin to try, all right, they now begin, they do not buy the joy of learning. There's something that we call learned helplessness in psychology. And learned helplessness is, one of the things that we have currently, having a besieging our generation today, where there is no zeal to learn. I know so many people, it's not one, not two, not three, who have read nothing since they came out of school. Some of them made a 2-1. Some of them even made a first class. Yes, they were forced, that's the other extreme, to learn. So they decided, I'm just going to learn this thing and just cram it. The brain naturally will stretch and learn, all right? But they didn't develop the joy to learn. There's a joy to actually be able to learn. They didn't develop it. And immediately that happened, shut them down. So they just were, they just finished school, got a job, and that's where they died. Because if you're not learning, you are dying. My pastor would say that is it that you are a consumption, a book, so in the literal terms, dying is actually, dying from learning. The moment you don't want to learn, I see some conversations in our community, all right? And, when those conversations come, you see some people who are just shut out to learning. These are some of the things that happen to them as children. Everything that happens to us children comes to play. Let's get to flogging. Flogging induces the same kind of fear, and above inducing the same kind of fear, it also inflicts physical pain. So a lot of our children are not learning, they are just cramming because they are being, forced. So they're beginning to cram whatever it is that they're giving. That's why we lack innovation. That's why we lack, people who can actually think through processes. That's why we just want our children to just, and the same way we parent, we just want our children to just listen and do nothing. Just listen. Anything I say, just listen to it. Do nothing. Don't think. So we're raising more children who can think, than children who can really think. So our bid for learning, all right, is what we began to do was to actually shut down the ability to learn. So when people say, but when we flog these children, they now begin to pass. No, they are afraid. They begin to cram and they begin to pass. That's why when they leave school, they learn nothing. And there are a lot of dead adults today who are learning absolutely nothing. I know someone who told me, he said, Coach, the only time I've started reading again was that I joined the inner circle. I haven't read nothing since I left school, but I left school with a 2-1. So it's not in the grading, it's not in the passing. So the idea is not to build your child to pass exams. The idea is to build a child to actually learn to become more, to actually have the zeal to learn. The greatest gift you can give to a child is the gift of learning. So if you give your child the gift of learning, you've given your child everything. Because trust me, you won't be able to teach your children everything. But when you give your child the gift of learning, it means that It means that your child will have the interest to learn. Your child will have the interest to learn. So is your child really interested in learning, or your child just wants to pass exam? So that cane in your hand, it's just a quick fix. You're just making your child a crammer of whatever. Okay? And then your child just wants to pass the exam. So it is something that we need to now begin to learn. Now, when we flog a child and we say that, oh, okay, yes, it was somebody told me, somebody shared, not me, somebody shared on the community and said, it was after my child was not performing well when I now started beating my child. I was sad. How come we're so comfortable building people who are, they are successful rapists? Building people who are, medical doctors who are non-empathic. So how come we're so successful, building those kind of people? We're so happy. It's okay. So when you induce all of the other kind of misbehavior, in quotes, that's where you now come out and say, oh, but we turned out okay. Did you really turn out okay? Somebody told me, but we learned now. How many of us are really have the joy to take a book and, really read it? Most of us, once we carry out a book, we sleep off. There's no joy to learn nothing new. Passing exams is different. So what we're infusing in our children today is just pass, just pass, just pass. Is that what it is about? So when we flog children also, we can also inflict pain, which also, doesn't help. In the recent times, we've even had, people who are now being killed. So I keep wondering why a baby, all right, a baby will be flogged to death. It happened in Asaba. A 1 year, 6 months old baby was flogged to death because the baby, according to them, was stubborn and wouldn't learn. So sometimes, I'm thinking about it and I'm wondering, is that how learning happens? In Maza of Lagos, there was a 2-year, all these things happened this year, in this short time of 2022. There was a 2-year-old baby that was brutalized just because she couldn't say the alphabets. She could not recite the alphabet, the A, B, to Z. There was another case where a child couldn't write in Sangota, January this year, and that child was actually beaten with so much marks on the body. There was another case where an 11-year-old student failed the chemistry test, and the teacher actually beat him to death in Onitsha, 2022, January this year. There was also another case where a child was beaten to death because the child couldn't pass his assignment. Now, you cannot beat skills into a child. I've said that over and again. And it's unfortunate that even in our schools, we still have these things happening over and again. Because we have untrained people who just believed that the beating they gave them actually made them who they became. That's the risk. That's the challenge that we have. We're having more and more people who came out, really traumatized, now becoming the teachers and the parents of today, and then making a mess of the process. When you engage in corporal punishment as a means to make your child learn, you're simply being lazy. Let me say that again. When you engage in corporal punishment as a means to make your child learn, you are simply being lazy. You're just looking for a quick fix. So what flogging and yelling achieves for you is immediate compliance. So the moment you hit them, immediate compliance. However, in the long run, corporal punishment can only lead to a lot of other negative outcomes. All right? Like shutting down the learning center, like some antisocial behaviors, like being aggressive. You don't beat skills into a child. The children just cram. The children who are not too afraid, end up cramming whatever it is and never actually buy into the joy of learning. So children can only learn when they're happy. Learning only happens when a child is happy. So a child cannot learn when they are not happy. It's a simple thing. There's no two ways about it. Did you invite your friends, your family? Are you having value in this place? Tag a friend, tag a friend, tag a family member. All right. Tag, people around you. We're about to blow it hotter, off the roof. Okay. We've just gone 50% over. If you're getting value, all right, you need to tag that parent. You need to share the links out there so that people will join you. Yes, learning only happens when a child is happy. A child cannot learn when they are not happy. It is not done. All right. It doesn't happen. That's how the human brain is wired. That's how the human brain is wired. So when you yell and flog and all those things that you're doing and thinking, hey, they did it to us, we didn't die. Oh, this one, that one, and all of that. All you are achieving is immediate compliance that never takes you anywhere. And that immediate compliance can backfire at the extreme end. Now, people say, yes, you're being lazy. Somebody said being lazy. Oh, yes. If you're a parent who only what you do is corporal punishment as a means to make your child learn, you are simply being lazy. Lazy is the word. That might trigger you, but that's what it is. That might trigger you, but it is what it is. Now, let me say this. Many of the times, I find parents who, anytime their children, come back, they're trying to learn, they're agitated, they're screaming, they're shouting, oh, you don't know this. How can you not know 2 + 2? Oh, and all of that. Anytime your child pushes your button, your child is showing you an unresolved issue from your own childhood that you need to deal with. Let me say that again. Anytime your child pushes your button, he's showing you an unresolved issues from your own childhood that you need to deal with. All right. So when that happens, you get agitated. There are some words, all right, some words that people say, you get triggered. You get triggered. So some people, get triggered by, you don't need to flog a child for a child to behave well. You see the trigger, you see their reaction is coming from your childhood. Severally, you were told that you cannot become better without actually being beaten. And they lied to you. I'm here to tell you that. They lied to you. You can't call me useless. I don't know if you can. I don't think anybody can. My parents didn't need to hit me. So the point I'm trying to make is you can actually raise a child, become responsible without you being aggressive. That's the point. That's the point. So a child will learn better when you're not aggressive. A child will learn better when you're not instilling fear. A child will learn better when you're not, all over the place trying to, force some of those things down their throat. Will you achieve the same result? Yes. But the question is, are we really willing to actually let go of some of these things? I'll tell you why you're not letting go. I'll tell you why. It's also because of learned helplessness that have been instilled in you. That's why you're not letting go. That's why you're seeing learning as you're seeing learning, so when people tell you can actually relearn, you can unlearn what you already know, you fight it, is because you are being, there's a trigger, there's something you've been told. Okay, that's how it is you. It shows that there's something unresolved in your past that you need to deal with. So when your child gets into a flight or fight mode, you begin to struggle. I don't know why we get the vibe. I don't know why and where we get the vibe that you cannot raise a responsible child without beating them. I don't know where we get that from. I don't know who told us that. That's a lie from the pit of hell. And no, the Bible doesn't command that. The God that I know does not command you punish a child, that you make your reading. I don't know what it is. Unread it. Okay, so we're going to get to that point where I'm going to show you why even you are fighting new knowledge. All right. So when you yell, okay, when you yell, your child does, goes into the fight of, and fight mode. So if you find yourself constantly trying to be aggressive, constantly trying to fight and all of that, that's not from God. That's not from God. I beg. So all these, God said we should spread the rod and spoil the child. So therefore, Christians are hiding under, that guise, not to deal with their unresolved, problems, their unresolved issues. You have anger issues, you hide under the guise of spread the rod and spoil the child. That is you with anger issues, and you should deal with it. It's not the child. I live with you because in your mind, if I leave them, they will become useless. Who told you that? Where is it written? Chapter what, verse what? Please, let's move on. So when you flog and shame your child and even yell at a child, you lose credibility. So your child can't even learn from you when you lose credibility. All right? A child can't learn from someone that they can't trust. Authority is not force and control. Authority is trust and respect. I've said this over and again. If your child cannot trust you, if your child cannot respect you, you have lost credibility. You have lost authority over that child. So you can actually raise, I have 12-year-olds. I don't have to hit them. My children are not irresponsible. Come on. So whoever told you that your children, before your child can become responsible, you need to beat them. I don't know where we got that from. I don't know where we got that from. You don't need to become a mean person for you to now actually discipline your child. Do I discipline my children? Trust me, I do. I am a disciplinarian, whatever that means to you. But what that means to me is that I'm helping build my children how they can think and not asserting control over my children. That's not my aim. Authority is trust and respect. The moment your child can't trust you, forget it. They can't learn nothing from you. All right. So your goal to discipline a child is it aims at developing self-discipline, meaning, responsibility for its actors, including making amends, including avoiding a repeat, whether an authority figure is there or not. That's the essence of discipline. Now, learning barriers. All right, there are learning barriers. There are barriers that come with learning. What are those learning barriers? I've listed a few, subheadings: the emotional barriers, the knowledge barriers, the developmental barriers, the motivational barriers. So I'm going to break this down a bit in the short time that we have. But this is part of also what we're going to be teaching at the Understanding Your Child's Learning Style class, so that I'll be able to break this learning for you in real terms. So all this flying knowledge from everywhere that we get, and some people say, oh, all these parents of today and all of that, and I'm looking at them, I'm wondering, what are they talking about? How can learn when you become less aggressive? In fact, they learn better. That's the truth. They learn better. All right. So number one is emotional barriers. What are these emotional barriers that we're talking about? Fear of failure, fear of lack of focus, resistance to change. Let me talk a bit about resistance to change. Part of what we were given with the kind of learning that we learned, we had, was resistance to change. We were given the kind of learning that made us shut down learning. Now, learning, when you learn, is supposed to give you the spirit to learn and begin to, and continue to learn. But what happened was that we got into the spirit to pass, so that we can satisfy our egocentric parents. All right, we can satisfy our egocentric parents. So it wasn't really about us becoming better. It was about our parents, having fun. So that's why some of the children who couldn't learn in those times were considered to be stupid. Maybe they had, one or two learning issues. So we developed a resistance. Then the moment we finished learning and passing, we stopped learning. So many of us stopped learning the moment we dropped the last paper. So as soon as you're dropping the last paper in university, you just feel, wow, praise God, I'm done. You're done with what? Meanwhile, your parents are supposed to teach you that learning is a lifelong skill. But you didn't learn that. So what you learned was that I just needed to learn to pass exams and get a job, which you did. And then what? That's why you're not growing, because you're resistant to change. And that's why you're where you are, because you're resistant to change. One of the things that happened to the dinosaurs is not because they were the weakest of the animals. They were just unable to adapt to change. Any animal that can't change would actually be lost. Forget all the conversations you're having today online and all the argument. If you are not learning, you're going to be kicked out of the system. Unfortunately, we are raising the first digital nomads. We have no inkling on how to raise digital nomads. Learn. That's the only way. But because you are resistant to change, which is one of the emotional barriers to learning, that's what is going to happen. And you're instilling the same resistance to change in your children because there's a barrier. Fear of failure. Many of us are still afraid of failure. Many of us are still afraid of failure. You don't even want to try. They tell you, oh, there's a new thing to do. You are afraid. What if I fail? Because your parents told you that the moment you fail, you are doomed. Who told you that failure is final? These are the things that you heard. And it is the same thing you're passing on to your child and telling your child, if you fail, I will kill you. Don't you ever fail in my house. Do we all love children who do well in school? Trust me, we all do. By instilling fear of failure into them, does it make any sense? No, it doesn't. Do you know what happens? Then your child will be afraid. They will pass the exams, just like you and I passed. And then when you finish passing, you get into the system of the world, you stop trying because you are afraid to fail. Because you've been told over the years that if you try and fail, it means you're dumb. So anytime you bring out that business deal you want to try, you are afraid of failing it. And yet, we've been taught over and again that even the guy that invented the light bulb failed 99 times. If not, you and I wouldn't have this light that we're having today. But yet, we are afraid of trying because that learning capacity was shut down in us as even children. So it is, it's not just about, Chinyere. Parenting without looking at the bigger picture. Shut it down. So your children, so it's about just pass now. No. Then you get into your jobs, you can't try businesses, you can't try. Have you ever wondered why a lot of us are not very innovative? Not because we don't know how to be innovative, but because we are afraid to be innovative. Fear of failure. The second one is knowledge barriers. Knowledge barriers. What do we know? How do we know that we can, help? So because we don't know, our children struggle to learn. So knowledge barriers. You don't even know how a child should learn. You don't even know what a child should be learning. Per time, I see people trying to force a 2-year-old to write. Screaming, oh, my 4-year-old cannot read yet. Hey, that's why you lack the knowledge to understand the developmental processes. Parents, seek knowledge. You said no. You know how it's done. After all, your parents didn't have to learn. Unfortunately, what you don't understand is that even though your parents didn't have to learn, you're paying the price. You're paying the price for your parents' assumption today. Just put yourself in all of the things that I'm sharing today. Does that sound like you? You're paying the price for all of those things they didn't know, for the things, the way they did the things the wrong way. We're all paying the price, every single one of us. So when we say, oh, but we turned out okay, at what cost? A parent in our level 3, Dr. Molala is here. She would say it ended in praise. At what cost? What is the cost of that praise that you're talking about. Seek knowledge. Intentions are not enough. You can love your children and kill your children. I've said that over and again. So loving your child is not enough. Oh, I love my child. Oh, why are you telling me how to parent my child? Can you love my child more than you? Unfortunately, I can actually, because you might actually don't understand what love is. Love is actually being able to understand who you're parenting, being able to learn from the place of knowledge and helping your child become better. In your mind, you think love is giving your child what it is that they need. That's not love. Oh, material things. Oh, you pay school fees. That's not love. Yeah, that's just, the entry level. What do you know that you're passing on to your child? All right. The third one is developmental barriers. There are developmental barriers. Today we have learning difficulties. And it's not an indication of intellectual, levels. You see people say, oh, that child is dyslexia. You don't even know what dyslexia means. It's also a ripple effect of lack of knowledge. So in the understanding your child's learning style, part of what we're going to be teaching is developmental barriers, learning disabilities, brain development. Do you know that it's been stated that yelling and beating a child are environmental factors that actually affect brain development, including poor nutrition as well? So all those, I'm disciplining my child so that my child will be useful and all of that. It might actually be you destroying your child without knowing. So it's very important that we actually get, knowledge. Sometimes there are conversations that go on the community on Facebook, and I look at it. I can't come in, and I'm sure some parents in the inner circle get me. They get it when I say things like this. I can't come in, and it can't make sense to the people because the level where they are as regards knowledge, it will backfire if I share it. So people always say, "Oh, why not tell us what it is? It might not even help the person." A few days ago, we did our inner circle end of month, and we taught honor as a skill. And in that session, I was teaching how honor is more important, that obedience is not the goal. And I'm sure when I say, the obedience, is not the goal. A lot of parents, if I say it in a community like this, well, how can you say you don't want your children to be obedient? You're sharing end-time message, and all of the things, that we put out there. But unfortunately, lack of knowledge, my people perish for lack of knowledge. So there are a lot of things that, I will not be able to share out here because of the process that you haven't begun. And will your children pay the price? Trust me, they will. Just like the price of the ignorance of our parents, we are paying for it. They will pay for it. There's no going back. So it's either you pay for it now or you pay for it later. Either way, you do the time, like I always say. All right, so we have dyslexia, reading fluency. We're going to put that together a lot at the learning style class. We have dysgraphia, we have dyscalculia, we have different kinds of learning styles that we're going to be putting together, teaching you, and also, most importantly, in the class, teaching you how you can manage them. I was telling someone recently that I'm direction dyslexia, and I don't really get directions, a lot. Until I started learning how to drive, I didn't even understand it. Until I was actually, so it's not, it doesn't mean that when somebody has a learning disability, that they have an intellectual disability. At that class, I'm going to differentiate the two. So there is low IQ, there is, learning disability. They're not the same. So until you understand this, some children who are dyslexic, who can, read and write, have been damaged for the lack of knowledge that parents had, and they've not been able to actually thrive. I was watching a movie. It's called Night School. It was a movie by Kevin Hart, where he went to school, and because his father and his parents didn't understand what he was going through, he was dyslexia, heavily dyslexia, and he couldn't read, he couldn't write. And this guy went to school, dropped out of school. And of course, when he had to go back, until he had to go back again to school, he was not diagnosed with dyslexia. And imagine if the parents knew earlier on, they would have helped him. And all the things that he went through, he wouldn't have gone through. So for the lack of knowledge of his parents, he paid the price. Your child will pay a price for lack of knowledge. All right, so let's move quickly. So at that class, there's a whole thing on developmental barriers. So we're going to be sharing on and how you can also help your child. The next one is motivational barriers. Now, proceeding with learning, many children at school, how you learn. or how you are being you want to be open to learning. So learning, but the most important thing is beyond picking up learning, all right, is the zeal to continue to learn. What are the things that can cause these motivational barriers? Lack of seeing the big picture. So parents don't really share the big picture about learning. So there's no really motivation. The motivation is just, I need to pass exam and do well so I can make my parents proud. That's what most children will tell you. So the big picture is not clear. There's also a lack of purpose. A lot of children, there's no purpose. You're learning for them. So, you're writing exams. Your children don't even know what it is that they need. So, your children are writing exams, you are running kitty, kitty, kata, kata, like they will say the song, Nigerian Palace. All right. So you're just running everywhere because you've not been able to teach your children how to see the purpose. And then another thing is boredom. When children are bored, there's no motivation to learn. How do you begin to deal with this? And then you have isolation. Many children don't learn in isolation and all of that. So, when I talk about, and then lack of previous knowledge as well, how is it that the child is actually putting a lot of these things together? All right, because it is important for you to look at learning, for your child to look at learning as their own problem, not yours. So we're constantly making learning our problem, not our children's problem. So there's no purpose. The child can see the big picture. It's all about you. The picture is you. The picture that you address is, go home and ask your children, why do you think you want to be best in your class? They say, I just want to make mommy and daddy proud. If that is your big picture, you have a problem with that. Both you and your children, as in the child is going to, at some point, there won't be no motivation to actually learn. So learning goes beyond just taking your child to school and passing exam. Then the last one, personal barriers. There are personal barriers. How we were created. This can be a barrier to learning. We were doing the review in the inner circle of the current book we're reading, Why You Act the Way You Do. You must have read that. You can read that book several times. But trust me, when you read a book in the inner circle, it doesn't sound the same. Yeah, am I speaking your mind? All right, if I'm speaking your mind, share the fire emojis right in the comment section. A book read in the inner circle is different from a book read outside of. You can read Connect to Correct 100 times. When you get into the inner circle and read Connect to Correct, it gives you a different kind of meaning. All right, a different kind of meaning. It's not the same. Okay, so personal barriers. What are those personal barriers that we are talking about? Yes, I see you, Yadas. I see the fire emojis everywhere on our YouTube community. Okay, so we're talking about personal barrier, which is the last barrier that we need to look at. All right, so reading, we need to begin to make reading fun. How do we make reading fun? Personal barriers. What are these personal barriers? Learning styles, your child's personality and your child's temperament. Do you know that if you're raising a sanguine who is a kinesthetic learner, you're going to struggle more than someone who is raising a melancholy that is an auditory learner? It's not the same. So you need to understand who you are parenting. The question is, how many of us even know who we are parenting? That's the question we are not answering. How many of us know who we are parenting? Who are you parenting? Do you know your child's personality? You know your personal barrier. Somebody's asking me what's the last barrier. Personal barrier. Learning styles. That's number one personal barrier. So we have different kind of learning style. And understanding your child's learning style course, in that course, what we're going to be showing you is how the child learns and how that can be a barrier. Do you know that different kind of learners learn differently? So because of that, even when a child is taught, the same thing in the same circle, it can actually mean another thing to another child because of the way they learn. So a lot of the times, parents teach children the way they learn. That's why you get frustrated. Yep, I've been there. So I'm telling you what I know. So you teach a child the way you learn, not the way the child learns. And if you're not conscious of it, the child would actually struggle. Now, number two is child's personality and their temperament. Your child's personality and your temperament, like I said earlier, when you have a child who is sanguine, or you have a choleric child will probably be more focused than your sanguine child. Do you know that? Do you know why that happens in the first place? Do you know why you can help your child who is sanguine, create more focus? These are the questions. These are the questions we should be asking. These are the questions we should be looking at. So learning goes beyond, I just want my child to top the class. I just want my child. See, when you really teach your children the joy of learning, you don't need to be there for your children to do well. You don't need to be there for them to strive to actually learn. You don't need to force them to learn. So if you find yourself in a place where you are forcing your children, oh, you need to read. If you don't read, oh, this will happen and all of that. That's you. You're parenting from the place of fear. There's something, wrong with that. That means the accurate knowledge, the way to motivate, why, what the big picture is, what the purpose is not even there. That's why in that class also, understanding your child's learning style, we're going to be teaching study skills. A lot of our children don't have study skills. That's why we struggle. So our parenting is full of so much struggles. There's a lot of struggle in our parenting because we don't understand, our children don't understand, a lot of things. There's so much struggle. Your children don't have skills. I shared an analogy in the community recently where someone was asking me that, oh, coach, so what are you saying? Are you saying that we should just leave children? We should not just, do anything and all of that? My child has been struggling with not giving. So now I've been punishing him, yet he still does not learn. He hasn't learned how to give. I beamed, a very huge smile on my face. And I gave this analogy for her. I said, if you have a plane and you want your child to fly the plane, and your child have never learned how to fly the plane. It was an analogy I heard from my pastor the first time. And you put that child in front of the plane, all right? And you tell the child, if you don't fly this plane, I'm going to flog you. See, you will flog the child, you will kill the child. The child will never be able to fly that plane because the child have not been taught how to fly the plane. Does that make sense? It means, simply put, you cannot beat skills into a child. Just like you can't beat mathematics, English, writing, reading into a child. You can also beat cleaning a house, focus, and all of the things that you need to actually, do for your child. No, you can't beat it into a child. No, you can't. All right? These things are learned. The question is, are you really teaching your child, or are you just forcing your child? Are you teaching your child, or are you just, just copying whatever you're seeing all around? Whatever it is that you're seeing, because people said so. Because, people came out and they're screaming, if you don't spare the rod, the child will learn. And are you really sitting down to review? The essence of previous, better generations is actually our ability to sit back and learn to do things better. So if we're not able to do things better from what the previous generation have done, we have failed as a generation. That's what it means. No, it's not the other generation that have failed. No, they've done their part and they've moved on. If we cannot look at what they've done and begin to reform it and begin to do it better, then we have failed. And that's what I see every day. So all we're doing is, I will do the thing the way my father have done it. After all, this is what happened to me. But the prices we're paying are so huge. Again, it ended in praise at what cost? The price is so huge. You're paying a price today by being an adult who is even struggling to fail. As in, you don't want to fail, so you're not trying new things. So you're stuck. You're stuck with the things you know. There's a saying that said that you will become the same person in the next 5 years. See, when you turn 22, 23, 34, 35, 36, you're the same person. You're not different from who you used to be. Do you know what makes the difference? The books you read, what you learn, and the people you meet. In the next 5 years, it will be the same person. The difference will be in the books you read, the people you meet, the connections you make, and what you learn. So the question you want to ask yourself is, if I remain where I am now and say, that's not the standard is what I know, that's foolishness. That's not wisdom. Wisdom is the things that others know that you do not know. Foolishness is in the things that you think you know that you don't even know that you don't know. That's what foolishness is. So the question is, are you going to start learning? Now, to actually help your children not to have the same experience that you had, fighting with the joy of learning, why not do something differently for your child? Why not come to that class, understanding your child's learning style, where we're going to be teaching you how to actually teach your children how to love to learn? Why not sit back and say to yourself, I really want to learn. I really want to do something differently from what my previous generation have done. Will it be better? Will I be doing something better than my previous generation? Or will I be doing the same thing that the previous generation have done? So today I urge you to come into that class. It is understanding your child's learning style. And in understanding your child's learning style, there are different modules, including learning disabilities. So you can also know where to actually begin to help your child. So if you want to be part of it, there's a first early bird, there's a second early bird, there's a third early bird, there's a fourth early bird until you get to 20,500, which is the fee. However, right now, there's a first early bird of 8,000 naira. Between now and the 10th of March, which is my birthday, by the way. So at the end of the 10th of March, that first early bird ends. Then we move into the second early bird, which is 10,500, which ends by the 18th of March. So it's going to keep progressing. And then we move into the third early bird, which is 15,500. So you can save a whooping 12,000 naira by enrolling for that class today. So you can enroll and we will continue the conversation from there. The truth remains, there are too many things that I can share that I know that I might not be able to share with you out here until you go through even a process. And the truth of the matter still remains that even if you haven't thought of joining the academy to run through a process, please start thinking about it now. Join the waiting list today and begin to actually prep yourself to join the next cohort of learners. Now, even the sessions, even the the classes, everything will make a whole world of meaning to you if you're going through a process. I know what I'm saying. There are conversations that if I have it here today, all the tables will scatter without standing up. And of course, a lot of you will even hate me. You won't like me when you hear some of those. All these, yeah, Coach Wendy. You just look at me. I'm sure the others understand what I'm saying. By the time it's inside there, they get it. It's some hot burning truth. But you know what? It transforms. So the question is, you want a transformation or you just want a management process where you just, continue to just, drag it there. Just do, mundane things, mediocrity, the same things over and again. Or would you want to do something more for your next generation? You can change the tides of your generation just by what you know. Just by what you know. I was listening to a documentary of a particular man in this country. One of the children, is owns a chain of oil servicing company, and they were interviewing them, and the man said, "I'm a teacher. I do not have a background of wealth, but with what I knew and the learnings that I had, I could turn the tides of wealth in my family, and it turned his family forever." You can actually simply change the tides of your 10th generation to come by the things you're learning today. Thank you so much. So if you want to be part of that course, all you need to do is to put course in the comment section and you would be part of that course. If you are in the inner circle of course, the inner circle parents have a different fee for that course. Yes, it's my gift from me to them, right? But every other parent, but I urge you to actually get in. We have over 50 parents who have gotten into that course already, paid waiting for the course. It starts on the 28th. The good thing about our courses is that you can go back to them. Even if you miss a particular session, you can always go back to them and, it's okay. If you're watching me on Facebook, you see us pinned comment right on the Facebook chat box. And if you're watching, me on YouTube, I want to ask that you just go through um, YouTube um, our YouTube description and you see the details of how you can register for this course. Or simply send us a chat or simply look at our screen if you're on YouTube and you will see the details of how you can get into that course. All right. So remember that this 8,000 naira you're paying now is just a discount from now to Tuesdays. 2 days, that's Thursday. As soon as it's Thursday, we shut it down then we move to the next discount until we get to our 20,500 naira. Last year we didn't have a discount as much as this. The discount was at 15,500. You can ask anybody who took the course. And even this year we're now beginning to even we're adding a lot of through it. All right. Like I said, the good thing about our courses is that you can come back to them anytime. All right. They are online, they're virtual. And remember that you can also get copies of our books anywhere you are. All right. In the world, we have copies of our books on Amazon. We also have them in Nigeria. All right. Somebody told me today and said, I read the book Resolving Sibling Rivalry. This is one of my books, Resolving Sibling Rivalry. And I know that the things that you do, I know that what you do in that, and that you wrote there couldn't have come by, human power. All right. And it touched me that people have said that Connect wasn't, it was, absolutely inspired. Trust me, you need to read this book so that it can help you to actually begin to know where it is that you actually need help from. Because most of us don't even know where we need help from. And then we also have to Come from Yelling to Come is a book for yellers to becoming a non-yeller. And then we have the Discipline That Works. This is all about discipline. So when people ask me about questions on discipline, I don't know where to start. I don't know where to start, to actually begin to tell you about almost 200-page book. So it's good that you get it and you begin to read it. And then I have this book called Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, in case you are the inner circle. And we're reviewing them, like serious review, putting them, together, learning so much. And then we have Working Your Child Property, which comes with a workbook. This workbook actually walks you through, all right, with your child and the things that you need to learn right in the book. And then we have two other books that my husband has written. One is called The Husband Manual. The other one is called questions. If you are interested, somebody is writing interested, and please let the person just look at the screen. And if you're paying from outside of Nigeria, the link takes you straight to make payment, and it accepts payment from all over the world. All right, so you can make your payment from everywhere. All right, if you have questions, you can put your questions down in the comment section. I will be able to respond to you. We already have 3:00. I need to go because I have another meeting in a few minutes. So I need to go. All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right. If you're interested in the course, like I see a lot of people, writing interested in on YouTube, just look at the screen and do the needful. And if you are also looking at using the link, please look at the description of this video. Thank you very much, and see you on Thursday on our Instagram channel, or we see you next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Thank you so much. On Thursday, we are live on Instagram at 4 p.m. You can join us. Do have an amazing day. For yarders, see you all in the yard as usual.